Hello there, and welcome to Ruining My Childhood, the channel where I rewatch the animated movies I loved growing up and pray I don't end up abandoning little me in a faraway cabin with no civilization in sight. You ever rewatch a movie and wonder what the hell you got yourself into? That was me while rewatching The Brave Little Toaster. I went into it thinking I'd be taking a trip down memory lane with whimsical appliances, but I failed to remember just how dark this movie could get. While I will be recapping and reviewing this movie, I've also decided to do something a little different. I'll be going a little deeper into this movie than past movies, because the psychological elements really hit me hard while doing my rewatch. A quick disclaimer, I am not a psychologist, so all my thoughts are just my opinion and shouldn't be taken as gospel. Now that that's out of the way, let's dive into the movie that may have taught an entire generation of kids about fear, abandonment, and appliance-based trauma, and see if it ruins my childhood. The film opens quietly in a summer cabin, bathed in warm light and dust motes. The rooms feel lived in, but still with only the hum of appliances breaking the silence. It's peaceful, almost cozy, but there's an emptiness there too. Like the walls are waiting for someone who hasn't been back in a very long time. It's here where we're introduced to our cast of talking appliances. Toaster, the calm, responsible leader. Kirby, basically your grumpy uncle in vacuum form. Blanky, who just wants to be loved, deeply needs a hug, and probably an on-call therapist. Lampy, who's honestly just trying his best. And Radio, who refuses to drop his 1940s broadcast voice, even in the middle of a crisis. They get to work cleaning the cabin like they do every day, a mix of teamwork, passive aggression, and occasional violence, which, in my experience, are the makings of any successful group project. Then, it happens. They're alerted to the sound of an approaching car by Blanky, and this is where the movie takes its first turn into darkness. As the others wait below for confirmation that the car is carrying the master, their precious owner who they seemingly haven't seen in years, Blanky goes into a full-blown auditory and visual hallucination, and it's honestly kind of creepy. This is the first insight into how dark the depths of this movie goes, and believe me, it gets so much darker. You know how I said the movie gets so much darker? We reach, arguably, one of the darkest moments in The Brave Little Toaster, and a moment I must have locked away in the deepest corners of my mind until seeing it play out again. Meet the air conditioner. Voiced with manic intensity by Phil Hartman, is perhaps the film's most explicitly psychological figure. In just a single scene, he embodies projection, repression, paranoia, and self-destructive rage. Trapped in the wall, the air conditioner is literally immobilized. Unlike the other appliances, he can't leave or fulfill his purpose outside of the cabin. He ridicules their hope because facing his own powerlessness would be unbearable. His outbursts are a defense mechanism, rooted in bitterness and envy. Kirby mentions him being stuck in the wall, and that is his breaking point. When pushed too far, the air conditioner short circuits and explodes. This could be read as an allegory for emotional implosion. Unresolved frustration and lack of agency boiling over into self-destruction. His fate highlights the psychological toll of helplessness, isolation, and unmet needs. In many ways, the air conditioner is a cautionary figure, representing what happens when despair isn't managed but repressed until it literally implodes on itself.
Well, he was a jerk anyway.
Well, damn, Kirby. After that dark moment, and some antics from the appliances, They finally make it outside on their way to find the master. This is where we actually get our first song of the movie, and while I won't go into detail on this particular song, I have to say this is the first movie I've watched on the channel where I felt like every song was in its proper place and moved the story forward. Are they all certifiable bangers? Nah. But they all fit perfectly every time they're introduced. I'll point out my favorites when we get to them. They venture into a beautiful clearing where the creatures and the nature that surrounds them are reprising City of Light, the song that was sung earlier. It's a nice break from the dark thicket they were in earlier, but this is Brave Little Toaster, and we can't have fun, happy moments without some darkness to punch you in the face. After getting harassed by a bunch of squirrels, Toaster goes to hide and runs into a lonely flower. Toaster's encounter with the flower is easily one of the film's sadder moments. The flower, desperate for a connection, mistakes Toaster's shiny chrome exterior for another flower. It leaned towards him with childlike innocence, seeking reflection and companionship, but Toaster recoils. He can't accept this misplaced affection and he quickly pulls away, leaving the flower wilting in rejection. Psychologically, this scene captures projection and loneliness. The flower projects its need for connection onto the wrong source, only to be abandoned. For Toaster, the moment underscores his conflicted sense of identity. He's not what the flower wants him to be, and acknowledging that is painful. On a deeper level, it reinforces one of the film's central themes: the ache of unfulfilled attachment and the devastation of rejection. After leaving the clearing, the group finds another spot to rest, and in a cute little scene, Toaster teaches Lampy a lesson in empathy. Yeah, Blanky's clinginess and abandonment issues are annoying at the best of times, but good feelings can come from helping someone out or even treating them nicely when you don't have to. Instead of giving in to the frustration of Blanky's actions, showing compassion not only helps the group form a cohesive unit, but also makes Toaster feel better. But again, this is the Brave Little Toaster. And with Light comes the shut up and take these nightmares moment, with an unsettling dream sequence through Toaster where he imagines himself being engulfed in flames by a terrifying clown. Rip to those of you that are terrified of them. Honestly, I wouldn't find it odd if that sequence caused any cloud-related fears for my fellow millennials. I'm not even gonna go into the possible hidden meaning of Toaster hanging over a bathtub filled with water. I think you all understand what they're getting at there. At this point, we realize that while Toaster is calm and collected on the surface, his inner mind is full of existential dread. And same Toaster, same. Following that is one of Lampy's most defining moments for the entire movie, when he sacrifices himself to charge the group's dying battery with an actual lightning strike while searching for Blanky. Lampy, throughout the movie, has been portrayed as a bit of an idiot, and he's been consistently aggressive to Blanky. But in this moment, there's some redemption through self-sacrifice. During the scene where he and Toaster speak about Toaster's evolving relationship with Blanky, Lampy mentions a time when his bulb died and he thought he was done for, but the master simply got rid of the old bulb and replaced it with a new one. This not only validated his usefulness, but also his existence and brought him closer to the master. And while I like his character, Lampy's kind of been dead weight in the helpful side of things on the journey. But here, his self-preservation goes out the window for the group. His need to contribute outweighed his instinct to survive. And through him, the movie shows what meaning beyond self looks like. Now, I say all this, but Lampy doesn't actually die. He's just a little crispy now. And in the morning, They find Blanky again. The group reaches a waterfall, and this is where Kirby has a full on breakdown and tries to eat his cord. There's a metaphor in there, similar to the toaster in the bathtub moment, if you get my drift. I don't need to spell it out for you. Toaster has to shut him off to stop his breakdown, and while this scene is clearly dark if you understand what it's getting at, there's also a bit more light in comparison to the other psychological scenes due to the peanut gallery duo, Radio and Lampy. Up to this point, Kirby copes through repression. He avoids intimacy with the group, snaps at them on the regular, but repression does have its limits. At the waterfall, surrounded by chaos and danger, his defenses collapse and he can no longer bottle up his emotions. The fact that it's his suction that goes wild suggests his breakdown is tied directly to his identity. He's literally consuming the very thing that allows him to function. Once he's aware again, he quickly defaults back into his grumpy Uncle Stick, and then has the audacity to ask how they're going to cross the waterfall.
Really, bitch?
He does soften up as much as he possibly can for the rest of the movie now that he broke down in front of the group. But the breakdown was cathartic. All his pent-up anxiety finally released, but he's not rejected for it. Even when he snaps after, the group still supports him. Then again, they can't really get around without him, so what choice do they really have? Enter the swamp. This part of the movie brought back never-ending story flashbacks. For those who have seen it, you remember the Swamp of Sadness and Artax the horse. That moment has haunted me for years, and this swamp scene brought back those feelings like a kick in the head. Especially Blanky's quiet acceptance as he's pulled under the mud while Toaster tries to get him to help himself. If the air conditioner scene may have been my childhood's introduction to existential rage, then the part shop sequence is full-on appliance purgatory. Cue the song, It's a B-Movie. One of my favorite songs of the movie. This isn't a cheerful Disney I Want song or a ballad sung by a vocal powerhouse. Nope. This one has the appliances themselves gleefully singing about their own obsolescence. From a psychological standpoint, this whole scene screams mortality salience, that deep, terrifying awareness of one's own death. The broken appliances mock our protagonists. I don't think it's out of genuine malice, but because they've accepted their fate. They are broken, discarded, and now their only purpose is to wait for their own doom. It's gallows humor in musical form. The unsettling thing here is how self-aware it all is. They know they've been abandoned by their masters, and instead of fighting that despair, they sing about it with unsettling cheer, as if trying to process trauma through performance. It's the classic laugh so you don't cry defense mechanism, except it's performed by partially disassembled cookware. Visually, the staging amplifies this. The warped angles, the exaggerated shadows, the junk literally looming over our appliance team. And psychologically, the part shop is about the fear of obsolescence and the loss of purpose. These appliances exist only to serve their master, and without that, they have no reason to be. So most of them don't even attempt to fight their impending demise. Before I move on, I'd also like to add this man. This man can't be trusted. Not only does he act nonchalant about seeing a jailbreak started by a fridge and appliances running free, he also sees a dog jump into a monster truck and drive off. And all he does is pop his face back in to ask about radio tubes. Who knows what evil plots reside in this man's mind?
Boo this man!
We've now followed these appliances across forests, rivers, a demented parts shop, and the master's home, where his newer appliances toss our protagonists into the dumpster, and you think, they were so close, it can't get any worse than this. Well, you'd be wrong. Instead, the little trip into the dumpster tosses us into the climax, and the climax slams us into a junkyard. And it's here the movie drop kicks the last bit of whimsy we could find into the stratosphere and just says, hey kids, let's watch some old cars give their own eulogies before being crushed to death. Not to forget the giant magnet that rolls out like an executioner, ready to jump off the tightrope to anyone and anything beneath it with a vengeance. This is where we get our final, and in my opinion, the best song of the movie, Worthless. This scene hits hard because it forces us to confront mortality tied to purpose. Each car belts out its personal history, not bragging, but in a last confessional type of way. They talk about the lives they once had, the value they used to bring, a convertible that lived in the fast lane, a car that drove all over the United States, an Indy 500 vehicle. They all had meaning once. But now, they're worthless. This song isn't about actual scrap value. It's about the loss of identity when you're no longer needed. And the tone makes it worse. The melody and chorus are somewhat catchy and seemingly upbeat at times, giving a nice heap of lyrical dissonance, which makes the content feel even darker. From a storytelling standpoint, Worthless mirrors what the Toaster crew has been fearing all along: abandonment and purposelessness. It's one thing to fear being left behind at a cabin. It's another thing entirely to watch your peers literally crushed out of existence for the crime of no longer being useful. And unlike the parts shop, where survival somewhat came down to luck, the junkyard makes the stakes universal. Everyone eventually will be deemed obsolete. Everyone ends up under the crusher. It's mortality staring you in the face. And the giant magnet in all of this is not just a machine doing its job. It's an actual predator stalking the appliances. The first time can be argued as mistaken identity, but every other time is clearly deliberate. It wants them. It's the perfect case for inevitability. If it sees you, you're screwed. But even worse, it even goes after the master, an actual human, all because he tried to save his appliances. Instead of just going after another car, it decides, nah, guess you'll die too. However, the master does manage to save all of the appliances, thanks to Toaster shoving himself into the gears in another self-sacrifice moment by one of the protagonists. They're then taken back to the master's home to fix up Toaster before heading out to join him in college and living happily ever after. Unless you count the sequels. I haven't seen them, so I don't. That was The Brave Little Toaster, and I had a blast rewatching it and writing the script for this video. A lot of the darker psychological elements I didn't remember, and I'm wondering if they were just too much for my adolescent brain. While doing some research on the movie, I learned that Jerry Rees, the director, set out purposely to address abandonment, worthlessness, love, and redemption. The animators even added in visual cues to help the audience understand a plot point and character. There is a Q&A on YouTube that goes more in depth on the love and care that went into the making of The Brave Little Toaster. I'll include the link in the description for anyone that is interested in watching themselves. It's actually really insightful. So, did The Brave Little Toaster ruin my childhood? Come on, y'all. Not even close. I think I love it even more as an adult than I did as a child. I went back and forth on what the final ranking should be, but I think I feel happy in placing it in the "We Millennials Were Right" tier. It nearly made the formative cinema tier, but I figured since I didn't have a major connection to it as a kid, it didn't belong there based on my own criteria. Still, The Brave Little Toaster is amazing, and also may be a secret horror film, but it has solidified its place in old animated films that I will watch on repeat in the future. Thanks for watching another video on ruining my childhood. Based on your own feelings for this movie, did you place it in the same spot, or did it make it to formative cinema in your own list? If you ranked it lower, I don't want to hear about it. Thank you all for watching, liking, and subscribing. You should keep doing that. I also noticed the Rockadoodle video got quite a boost over the last few weeks, which I'm extremely grateful for. Until next time, try not to watch any movies that may ruin your childhood, because that's my job. I'll see you all soon.